So hello there everyone, it's David here from OptimizePress and welcome to another site critique. Now today's critique is of N Digital Marketing, and it's Steve Welsh is the man behind this business, and this is actually quite a hard critique only because he's got such a nice site. So compliments there, it's a very nice site. So this is going to be quite hard for me to go through. I'm not going to try and be really critical, but I'm just going to pick up some things maybe that he could test, okay, because the site is actually very nicely designed and there's some minor tweaks. I'm not going to get too picky on them, but there's only little tiny things you change on the site, but this is a beautiful template all around. So here it is. This is it. Obviously you can see on the screen it's N Digital Marketing, and that's a picture of the man himself. So this site, he's using this obviously to promote his own marketing business where he is based. And you know, the site itself uses some beautiful imagery throughout, and he's got some nice call to actions and a nice contrast in colours. So firstly, starting at the top section, this whole hero section, now I'm on a fairly big monitor on this one, so I'm seeing these featured in links across here at the bottom. So you might not see those when you land on this page. You might, if you're on a smaller browser, you won't see these featured in images at the moment. But initially this whole top section is actually very nicely designed. He's got a background image in there and he's got a picture of himself. That little save thing comes up. I think that's installed on his site. It's not part of my browser. I do have these, but this one keeps popping up anyway. And this image as well behind him, it's a nice image. I'm not sure, it looks like he's been superimposed on that. It's not. These are actually two different images. I think that's a different image and the image behind, so you might be able to get a more realistic background image, but that's just me being petty. But overall this is a lovely designed site. He's got a nice background image, or an image as well, of himself, and he's got his text nicely positioned on that left hand side, and you know, it's clear call to action underneath. So initially my first things are it's just this color of this text is a little bit difficult to read on that background when it goes into this light area here. Okay, so that's the only little picky thing. You could try changing a different image or even putting a darker overlay on this image. Now I think when I visited this site first, maybe a month ago, he actually had some different images up. He might be testing these. He also might have updated them since then. So I'm not sure on that, but that's the only little thing I'd change with this text block here is this. You can just lose, you don't focus enough to read through what that says there, okay? And the other thing I would change in this whole hero section is just this click here button. Although it's a very good call to action, it's nice and bright, you might want to change that to be click here to grow your business. So you could test having the click here text changing just from click here to grow your business. But overall that hero section as well is very nice, and like I say, on my monitor I'm now seeing these links below here. It shows he's been featured on. What I actually like about that as well is he's not trying to put in all these real big brands of where he's been featured, like on the New York Times or you know, the Sunday Herald or anything like that. He's just using general websites that he's publishing on himself, and maybe where he's also been answering questions on and things like that. So this is actually really nice. These brands are all recognized. If you like, Delicious is way back in the day of, you know, early 2000s when, you know, people using Delicious to bookmark, but he's featured himself. He's put there to be featured on. It just looks professional. It adds a bit of authority into his website. He's got Reddit there, LinkedIn as well, LinkedIn Publishing, so he's obviously published his own articles. He might have written stuff for other people, so I really like that. The only other thing I would do with this section here is increase the spacing around it, because this font, actually I thought that was a font, that's actually I think an image. The whole thing is an image, so I would put spacing between this headline and then these images below, or remove this text from the image and just put the image in and then put a headline in separate, just to add a bit more spacing around that. It looks a bit cramped. So that's one thing. The call to action, like I said, if you click on it, opens up the overlay optimizer. Inside that he's got a form. Now one thing, the thing with the forms are they're good if you really actually want, if you're really trying to cut out all the time wasters that'll contact you. There's only 2 required fields on here, or 3, sorry, or 4 actually. It's made them required fields, so the message as well. So this is definitely one thing to test, whether you actually have just a name and the message box, or it could even be what do you want help with, and you put name, what do you want help with, and the message, or just have the name, or even just the email address and then the message. The message could say what do you want help with as well. So maybe test these form fields. He's obviously trying to clarify people or qualify people before they contact him. That's a good thing to do. I would just test how many fields you have in this box maybe with another form. So test it with minimize these fields, and then use this one as well, just to see if more people submit and still lead through to getting more clients. But that whole section, that's the only thing I'd play around with, is this call to action button. The text in there, click here, is not very relevant. If you change it to something a bit more related to click here to grow your business, you might get a few more submissions and then simplify that form. So moving on down, I said about that section, I would just increase the spacing on that myself. Going on down here, this is lovely, nice and clean, nice font use as well, very easy to read on that white background. This testimonial, this is a custom, this is not part of OptimizePress, he's put that in. The only thing with this is I came to click on this to go somewhere to read more, so you could possibly add a read more link underneath. I did realize that okay, that's the link there. In the end, I clicked here, and that's the link that takes you through. So you could have read more testimonials inside that if you can add it, or add it underneath read more testimonials, because people might miss your links that are further down the page on this. Possibly also add a little bit more spacing around this whole section. You'll hear me say that a lot on these critiques, is spacing. Adding white spacing and just spacing, padding around your content, makes it much more easier to read for the person, and it allows people to focus on one particular area that they're reading. So particularly with this is a testimonial here, so this is quite a powerful testimonial, but it doesn't stand out as much as the one above, whereas a bit more spacing around that and possibly another image, then that would stand out more. So that's just one little things I would do, that is add a bit more spacing. So then we go down into this section. I said before, like, the text is hard to read on that image above. It's the same with this. It's not hard to read. It just gets lost. I don't find myself focusing on it. I skim over it. I'm not looking to read any of this. I get the headlines, find more customers, and get more traffic. I get that, and it doesn't make me want to read this because I can't focus on it. I'll kind of skip over it. So unless you try using some bold text to highlight some of these power words in here that people might stop and pause and focus on, resonate with your customers or something. If there's marketing campaigns, you could bold it. Try bolding them to see if people do read it. Obviously, if you're using things like heat trackers and all that kind of stuff, you can find out where people are stopping on your page. So you'd know then if they're reading this type of content. So it's something you can always look at on any website, is installing some kind of heat tracker or eye tracker, and then looking at your content and seeing if people are actually stopping on that area of the page and reading it. If they're not, just get it off the page. So it's worth that kind of thing will tell you if that's this is a useful area. For me personally, I skim over it because I couldn't read it and I move on. You could try changing the font, making this darker behind here so it's then easier to read the white font on top of it. That's just a suggestion. But going on down again, this section, nice, lots of spacing, nice clear font, easy to read. That same picture of him from above, you could try changing that, and you could even bring down another call to action here with you looking at a call to action. But this is just a nice little row. It clearly says what he does, works with business owners, directors, managers, marketing departments. That's also a very good headline to include in this right at the top here. Although it does say what you're a creative digital marketing service, you could also explain what you do in that headline section as well, like we do SEO, content, etc. So you could try obviously testing that. So this section as well clearly clarifies people he works with. That's quite good. And then you're going on down into I can help with. So this is nice area, a nice little divider used there, and then straight into these other options that people have. The only critique I have here is more spacing, and maybe try changing these buttons to be rounded or different. I think there's nothing really. This is clearly, you can clearly see what you do and who you work with, and these all link through to lovely pages as well. So you've got other lead magnets and things throughout your site, so it's really well structured. This is a great example for anyone who wants to look at a site and go, well, I've got all these different ideas and I do all these different things. How can I structure my layout? Steve's site's really good for that. So if you click through to these, you go through to other landing pages, other lead magnets and things. So with this whole section here, you can see if you're in it, I mean, like I said, the only thing is the spacing around, because you can skim over this. You could try changing these headlines or just reducing some of the text in these. So this could be audiences or attraction, and then that could be conversations. It's bringing them all down to single words. This is nice as well. Clearly lays out its latest blog posts. There's nothing really to comment about that. The only thing is what's underneath it. Again, spacing for me is just more spacing. It just looks a bit busy, because if you get down to here, you're not well, just kind of at the bottom now. This whole area is just busy. Okay, so for me, I've just put more spacing in around these social icons here. This is where people connect with you, so maybe a bit more spacing at the top and the bottom. But there's nothing really, I don't think that's a major issue you've got there. People can connect with you through these social networks. And going down, you've got this whole section here again at the bottom. This is nice. You could try reducing this font, bring this font down a little bit. Again, it's a little bit busy, this footer section. That might be to do with your template. You might have shrunk your template and reduced its width. You could try actually expanding the width of this template. You need a bit of custom CSS to make it a bit wider. The call to action is good. Again, opens up that form again, so you might want to change that to possibly one of your other lead magnets, because if they haven't used the form above at the top, then they might not use this one. Or do the test like I said before, so just have this one that just says email and then your message, what you need help with. Another thing to try is pre-selecting these. They're like a drop-down form, so people don't have to think about what they need help with. You're then directing them into what you can already help with. So you could have a drop-down here of the services you provide. So you're already qualifying that person. You're also making, there's one field they don't have to fill in, So always worth testing these kind of things with these forms. But that's really it. Again, that click here, that could be click here for a consultation, or click here to get help. Or that could just say, I like how you got the phone number underneath. That's good. You could actually just say something like free consultation. Maybe not consultation. It's not a great word at the moment. It just, I think consultation is just aligned with we want to sell you our services. So you could change that to something else, and then the text underneath could be click here. So you could try just changing that. But very, very picky stuff. There's nothing really bad about this whole page. It's just beautiful. It's very well designed, nice color combination, and it looks good all round. So I like that you've also got the jump to top arrow there. That's nice. There's not really going to be a before and after of this page, because there's simply nothing that I can create to make this better immediately. I don't think. I would just play around with split testing it, changing the background images. Maybe changing images of yourself. You've got some lovely links through to content up here as well. You've got your how-to guide, so these links are all nice. When you click on the buttons, they show a nice green color as well. These are obviously your strategies here, so these could be in the drop-down fields in your forms. You've got marketing strategies, so you already let people pre-select something from a drop-down. I looked through your site as well. There's lots of other pages. They're all very nice. They're very clean. They're very. If I jump to one of your how-to guides. So again here, this is one of your guides, beautifully done again. You've cloned over, you're keeping that consistency in the brand, and then you've just shown below the other guides that you've got, and they can click through. I think this takes us through to another landing page. So you've got your guides landing page, and then you've got the landing page for that guide. So again, consistency throughout this entire branding. So people who are watching this, you'll notice this. It's the same color combination, it's the same consistency, same fonts. It just looks professional and looks nice. There's nothing bad to comment on throughout that. If you see those, you're seeing the same face as well as a picture of him. You connect with it, you engage by looking at these images of Steve. So I'm not going to critique it. I hope that helps some of you. I hope you've got some ideas of things you can do with forms. Always be testing. So I'm sure Steve is testing this. I've got a feeling he'll be testing pages and hopefully be testing some of these buttons as well. You can obviously do that with OptimizePress experiments. You can get that on your site and start doing split testing between two pages. But there's no before or after. I've built a little template, so you can possibly take something off this and get some ideas and similar layouts. So I have made a little template similar to sort of this layout Steve's got here. You can download that at the bottom of this article. But as for now, thanks for watching these critiques. Be back more. We've got lots of these coming, and some of them are complete redesigns from what you see on the original page to what we've then created.